Well, we are just days away from the fourth Ashes test in England. A win in the next test will be enough to secure the side's first Ashes series win in England since 2001. No pressure at all. To talk more on this, we are joined by former Aussie cricketer Adam Dale. Good morning to you, Adam.
Good morning, Julie.
Adam, I tell you what, who would want to be one of the Australian selectors this week?
They're definitely going to be earning their money this week. But that's what we want. We want our best players playing well, and they've got some tough decisions. Unfortunately, it might come at the expense of David Warner, who's been a wonderful player for Australia and one of our great champions. But, it's a must-win test match, and at the top of the order, we've got some challenges. I think in the bowling category, the best three will be, Cummings, Stark, Hazelwood. But certainly that discussion around who's going to open the batting will be a tough one.
Well, let's look at that top order. If you are a selector, what do you do with David Warner?
You'd love to see him making runs, but unfortunately, I think if it was in answer to your question, I'd probably look to make a change. Maybe Travis Head comes in to open the batting, or even Green, who bats at 6 in the middle order and faces the second new ball and has a technique that could be, at the top of the order and be very comfortable. Mitch Marsh has done a great job and deserves his opportunity to retain his spot. And the Australian cricket team is a representative team of the best players that are playing at that point in time. And we need to reward those performances. And unfortunately, it might be at the expense of David Warner. That's in my opinion, but others might disagree and they might, stay with him as such, because the challenge they've got is that no one outside of the squad has any form because they don't necessarily play any games to push for selection. So they're in a bit of a conundrum.
Well, one of those who thinks the selectors should stick with David Warner is Ricky Ponting. And I suppose, you can never rule out a champion. You can never rule out someone like Warner and what he's capable of.
No, you can't. And Ricky has a lot more credits than I do. So I'm not going to be one to go against what he says. And he knows those conditions well. And that's the great thing about our game. It's very subjective. And, there can be different opinions, but certainly something needs to happen at the top of the order. We either need to perform or make a change.
Did you think something that Ponting did say was that he just didn't look like his usual fighting David Warner that we know so well, that bulldog spirit? He almost looked nervous and uncomfortable. What did you make of him?
You have to agree with that. I mean, I think, there's over 14 times plus that Broad has knocked David Warner over, and he comes around the wicket. And when you see David Warner in Australia, he attacks and he's on the front foot and he puts a lot of pressure on the bowlers. In England, he hasn't been able to achieve that. And his highest got 150 in the last few knocks. So his form hasn't warranted that, but he's been a wonderful player with many hundreds and certainly needs to be celebrated. But again, we're in that situation where we need to win the test match and we need to make some tough decisions. So we've either got to make runs at the top of the order or we've got to make a change. And but again, I'm not going to go against Ricky Ponting. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two. In terms of England, Ollie Robinson's declared himself fit. How much confidence will this English side be taking into Old Trafford?
Well, they're going to be very full of confidence and certainly doing everything they can. Anderson didn't play in the last test match and he's back at his home turf in Manchester. They've got a bit of a selection conundrum as well. But they need the ball swinging. Broad and Anderson are in the latter part of their career and they need conditions to be in their favour. And if that happens, that's going to be good for them. If it's not, the ball really hasn't swung a great deal in this series. That's why there's been so much short pitch bowling. We haven't seen reverse swing and we haven't seen traditional swing. So if Anderson, the conditions are right, I think Anderson will play. And they've, Robinson, Broad, Wood, he'll hold his spot because the pace factor was a real asset for England. So they've got some selection challenges as well. I think Anderson will play because he deserves that opportunity.
Just quickly before we let you go, the women's Ashes, nervous time for the Aussies there as well.
It is. How exciting. Cricket's at the front page of the papers when we're in the middle of footy season. The women have played very well. England, to their credit, have been exceptional in the last few games and put it really back on the Aussies. When you think we won that test match comfortably and we won the first game after that, we were in a great position to retain the Ashes. We only have to win one more game to do that. So it's very exciting. Great crowds, you know, a really high level of skill, and it's wonderful to watch. So it's going to go down to the wire, I think, in both the men's and the women's.
And just on the men's, do you think the Aussies can get the job done?
I think they can, Julie. It's going to be another great test match. But again, I'm very pro Australia in regards to the performance side, and I think we can. We just need to be better at the top order, and our first 4 or 5 batsmen need to be better than they were in the last test match.
Interesting few days ahead. Adam Dale, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Julie. Ta-ra.